Good evening. I am not Mrs. Walker. I try convincing people I'm Cindy Crawford with legs up to here, and nobody bothers to believe me. I don't get it. But I am Carol Medell, and I would like to welcome you this evening. Mrs. Walker is unable to be with us today, so our records need to reflect that she is excused. This is our regular monthly meeting of the Wayne Westland Community School District Board of Education. It is Monday, September 19th, 2016, and it is 7 o'clock. On behalf of the Board of Education and myself, I would like to welcome each and every one of you here this evening, especially our students. Your attendance this evening reflects your interest in our local educational process, and we greatly appreciate your attendance this evening. With that said, I understand that we have two exceptional students from Marshall Upper Elementary School that are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. So could I please ask Emily and Matt? No? I'm sorry. Those are the principals. Hello. I guess I need to read more carefully here. Marina, and that's right underneath that. Is it Marina and Kyle?
Kylie.
Kylie? Very good.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Marina and Kylie, if you would just come there. We'd like to thank you for being a part of our Pledge of Allegiance tonight, and I'd like to read your biographies now. Hi, my name is Kylie Smythe. Knew that. I am in 5th grade in Mrs. O'Leary's Talented and Gifted class. It is an honor to be here and to do Pledge of Allegiance. Some of the things I love to do are reading, math, and writing. I also love to spend time with my family. Also, we have Marina. Says, hi, my name is Marina Allen. I am a part of Mrs. O'Leary's Talented and Gifted class. I am honored to do the Pledge of Allegiance for the Board of Education meeting. Some of the things that I like to do are read and type books. I actually got my typing skills from my dad. He is an author of 7 novels. Wow. Now, ladies, we're going to have Mr. Griffin come down, and he's going to ask you some questions in just a minute. So let's turn toward the camera, if you would.
On behalf of the Board of Education and the administration, we'd like to thank you for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. And Marianne Allen, Marina, let me get this correct. Okay. Are your parents here with tonight? Would you like to introduce them to us? All right. Thank you. And Kylie, are your parents here tonight? Yes. Would you show us, have them stand up for us and introduce them? Very good. And your brothers here? Also, would you point out if your principals are here and their name? Okay. Well, we'd like to thank, again, on behalf of the board, for you coming here and leading us in the pledge. And I have a certificate for each one of you from the Board of Education and the administration. And again, we appreciate it.
Good job. Now, I know that even though the school year has just started and we're underway, I'm sure that you have other responsibilities at home, so feel free to duck out. Thank you. And I know one of the things that they did forget to do was to introduce their co-principals. So, Mrs. Hawthorne, Mr. Provost.
Emily.
Okay, glad to have you with us. Unfortunately, I do not know her as Mrs. Hawthorne.
You do now.
I do now. And, you know, she's still Ms. York. The best substitute anybody could want in their classroom. Congratulations. Roll call vote. Dr. Weaver?
Mr. Griffin,
Present.
Mr. Buckaloo,
Present.
Mrs. Hines,
Present.
Mrs. Madison,
Present.
Mrs. Madell,
I'm here.
and President Walker is absent this evening.
The next item on our agenda, 12617, citizens' comments on agenda items only. Dr. Weaver?
This is a place on our agenda where we allow anyone that would like to come to the microphone an opportunity to speak to the agenda before the board discusses it. Anyone? Seeing none, Mrs. Madell.
Thank you, Dr. Weaver. Next item on our agenda, 12717, consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Madison,
Support.
supported by Mr. Griffin. Any discussion? I do want to point out a big thank you to Ford Local, UAW Local 900. One of the days, I was passing by the Ford Motor Plant on Michigan Avenue, and I saw a school bus at the entrance, and I'm going, are we still offering college classes to students? What's with the school bus? To find out that they had stuffed the bus with school supplies for our students. And I just talked to Ms. Amanda over at the Family Resource Center, and a lot of the school supplies are already been claimed by students. So a big thank you to them and to the other people who have donated items to our school district this month. Dr. Weaver? Roll call vote?
Mrs. Madell,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Buckaloo,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines.
Yes.
Mrs. Madison.
Yes.
Let the record reflect a 6-0 vote.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, 12817, review and approval, human resource items. Mrs. Bold.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Tonight, I have the pleasure of recommending for your approval 4 administrative placements. I'm going to share a little bit of information about each one of the 4, and then after your vote, I'll invite them up for an opportunity to introduce who they have with them and say thank you. First recommendation I have for your approval tonight is of Miss Sherry Grove to the position of principal at Stevenson Middle School. Sherry started her employment with the district in 1995 as an ELA and a drama teacher at John Glenn High School, and where she's also been serving as the assistant principal since 2012. Sherry holds a Bachelor of Science from Eastern Michigan University, a Master of Arts also from Eastern Michigan University, and a Master in the Art of Teaching from Marygrove College. She also has a professional education certificate in English and speech and a K-12 school administrator certification. The next administrative placement is Miss Emily Hawthorne. You've already met Miss Hawthorne. Emily started her employment with the district in 2009. She served as an ELA and a science teacher at Stevenson Middle School, a 4th grade teacher at Hamilton Elementary School, and most recently as an intervention specialist at Marshall Upper Elementary School. Emily holds a Bachelor of Science from Eastern Michigan, a Master of Arts from Eastern Michigan, and additionally, she has a professional education certificate in elementary education, integrated science, language arts, and her K-12 school administrator certificate. The third recommendation is Miss Kelly Michaels. Miss Michaels has been an elementary teacher in our district since 2007. She's taught at Kettering Elementary School as well as Hamilton Elementary School. She holds a Bachelor and a Master's of Art from the University of Michigan, and she's currently working on her Ed Specialist degree in Education Administration. Kelly also has a Professional Education Certificate in Elementary Education and Integrated Science and Language Arts. Our last recommendation for your approval tonight is Mr. Mark Watson. Mr. Watson is joining our team with prior teaching as well as administrative experience, having served as a teacher for 7 years and an administrator for the past 12 years. Mark's most recent experience has been as an elementary principal in the Farmington Public Schools. Mark holds a Bachelor of Education from Western Michigan University and a Master of Arts from Central Michigan University. Mark also has a Professional Education Certificate in Elementary Education, Science, and Social Science.
I am looking for a motion to,
So moved.
Support.
moved by Mrs. Madison, seconded by Dr. Weaver. Discussion.
Quick question, is Kelly Michaels here and Mark Watson, are they present? Oh, okay, I just want to put name with faces. Thank you.
Anything else? Roll call vote,
Is this Siri item one at a time or all together?
all together.
Thank you. Mrs. Madison,
Yes.
Mrs. Madell,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Buckaloo,
Yes.
Mrs. Hines.
Yes.
My vote is yes. Let the record reflect a 6-0 vote affirmative.
Could I ask each of you to
Yes.
step up?
Thank you. So why don't we start with Ms. Grove. Sherry?
Good evening. Thank you. Yes, I have my husband, Mr. Kevin Gidley, a teacher in the district as well, an English teacher. And I'd like to thank the Board of Education, Dr. Harmala, and most importantly, our family, our communities, and our students for allowing me this opportunity to continue serving and leading and growing here with the Wayne Wesleyan community, and most importantly, in my new role with the Stevenson Middle School family. I'm truly excited and honored at the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce, I have my
Emily?
husband with
Emily,
me.
can we clap individually?
I was
mean,
going to, and
Yep.
nobody did, so. We would like to do that. Thank you, Carol.
Yes, you each deserve it, you know, your moment in the sunshine here. All right, go for it.
Okay, I'd like to introduce, I have my husband with me, Mr. Hawthorne. So I am beyond grateful to serve as one of Marshall's co-principals. I am eager for the opportunity to work alongside my partner, Matt Provost, in the co-principalship as we learn and grow together in this. Marshall is a phenomenal place to be and work, and I'm excited to continue the work that we're doing. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kelly Michaels, and I have with me my husband Jeff and one of my sons, Nick. And thank you very much for your vote in support of my position as principal at Hamilton Elementary. As a 6-year member of the Hamilton team, I'm honored to move into the role as principal and join the group of dedicated leaders here in Wayne Westland. The Hamilton community is very important to me, and I look forward to helping every star shine in our Hamilton community. Thank you.
Little play on words because they are the Hamilton Stars.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Harmala. Thank you so much for this honor to serve the Wildwood community. First, I want to say to the Wildwood community that they've been so welcoming. The staff, the parents, the families, it's been a privilege to get to know each and every one of them. My wife, Jessica, and my son, Parker, my son, Sawyer, and my daughter, McKenna, they can't wait to come see the playground. They're super excited. They want to know how many swings and slides there are, so they're very excited. But I just want to say thank you so much for this honor. It's to do this job, what we love to do each and every day, it is truly an honor. So thank you, and thank you for putting your trust in me to serve the Wildwood community. Thanks.
And as I told the students, if you have homework that you need to go home and do, it's okay if you leave the meeting right now. Our next item on our agenda, 12917, review and approval to discontinue the district's affiliation with Advanced Ed and NCA. Mr. Albright.
Thank you, Madam Vice President, members of the board, and members of the audience. Mrs. Mullins, Executive Director of School Improvement and K-4 Education, presented a proposal to the board in August that we seek to discontinue our affiliation with the North Central Association of Colleges and Schools, otherwise known as NCA, and Advanced Ed, and then seek to replace that with a district-developed internal accountability system that does comply with state of Michigan's requirements for school and district improvement. Tonight, we seek a motion from the board in support of that proposal.
Looking for a motion, please?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Mrs. Madison, supported by Mrs. Hines. Discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure, and it was probably in the presentation, but just to make sure that upper echelon colleges would still honor our in-district accreditation.
Absolutely. There's no real affiliation with any organization. Students' test scores and grade point averages are the two most important things in being accepted to college.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My question through the chair to you, Mr. Albright, is this. I'd had a lot of conversation in prior years, well, I wouldn't say a lot, some conversation about some of this testing and so forth was requiring too much of our staff's time. And I bring this up because I look at this document and the letter of recommendation where we've met with the teachers, the administrators, the school principal, and the superintendent's cabinet, and they all recommended that we make this change. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I'm assuming that one of those reasons, and I won't get into the others, was that we needed to spend more time, less time on testing, if you will, and more time on some academic curriculum ideas. And is that a true statement, or?
It's actually right on. We're working very hard to narrow our focus on what actually happens in classrooms, and every opportunity we have to look at initiatives and programs that that are in place, and we can eliminate them and provide more time for that, we do. That's where that came from.
Yeah.
One
Dr.
thing I'd
Mall?
like to add, though, is at the current time, you can't stop doing the state-required assessment. So it wouldn't, so if anyone got a sense that it might do that, it does not do that.
And I thoroughly understand that,
Okay.
even
Just
though
to
they
be-
changed the
Make sure
test.
we're all clear.
Even though they change the test all the time.
Right.
But I guess my point, and I wanted to have the public understand this, is that this change is being made for the entire school administration from the bottom up.
Yep.
They feel that it's in their benefit in order to spend more time on the curriculum and less time, if you will, on testing, except that kind of tests that are necessary under the state statutes that we have to comply with. And that we're doing nothing by this vote that would prohibit us from being recognized by an organization. And so, I said, I meant to say, is that a fair statement? And so I'm fully in support of this motion, because I think in the long run, it'll be best for our staff and our administration, and we will lose nothing but gain from it. So thank you.
Is there anybody else? Mr.
Yeah. My association with North Central goes back well over 40 years. In the first North Central evaluations that were done in my high school, one of the things they did was they came in and they counted the books in the library. They looked at the curriculum offered by the various departments, and if we weren't teaching a course that they thought was necessary, they let us know about that. But over the years, North Central has evolved as state requirements have changed. It's become a school improvement model, and to be honest, I think it's time that we part with North Central. They don't offer us anything that the state isn't already requiring of us in the area of school improvement. And so we're already, well, let me rephrase that. We're going to continue to do the things that North Central would have required of us. We're just simply going to do them under a different direction. And for those parents who might be wondering about going to a school that is no longer North Central accredited, Well, that may be true, but our qualifications and our accreditation is every bit as good, and it will not change. We're just simply not going to pay the money to North Central to send their people in and tell us that we're doing what we ought to do.
Anybody else? Dr. Weaver, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Hines,
Yes.
Mrs. Madison.
Yes.
Mrs. Madell.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Buckaloo.
Yes,
I vote yes, and let the record reflect a 6-0 vote.
Very good. Next item on the agenda, 13017, review and approval, business services and finance items.
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Larson
you,
Scheibler.
Vice President Madell. Seems odd to be talking about road salt at this time, but this is the same deal as we had last year. Last year, I'm happy to report that we had the minimum. We have to take receipt of the minimum, 70% of the 700 tons, and that was 490 tons last year. We have the same deal this year, but the cost is less. So we're obligated for 490 tons, and we can get up to 910 tons. So let's hope for the 490 again, and go from there.
Did you use it all last year?
No,
Or is there a big building where it's all stored
we
somewhere?
have some salt left, yeah, but
Okay.
you have to take a minimum of 70%. So that's the 490, yeah.
Let me call for a motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Griffin
second.
and seconded by Mr. Buckaloo. All right, discussion.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate him for having used so little salt last year. Hope he keeps it up this year.
think
I
we all
hope
have
so
a right
too,
to do it.
yeah.
Isn't the salt destroying our parking lots? I mean, really?
It destroys my shoes, I would say, but, yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised. You get that ice layer in the morning, so you still have to put out salt so people don't slip. So, I mean, you use quite a bit more than what you would anticipate.
Yeah, but if you work your magic, you can still keep it down.
Okay, I
Okay.
don't think I have that magic, but I'll try again. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that has any questions? All right, Dr. Weaver.
I would like to point out
I'm sorry, did I?
that we're buying salt at a rate less than what we did last year. Am I
Yes.
correct on that?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And
Thank you.
along with my good friend Trav, I hope you bought too much.
I do too.
Okay, anything else? All right, Dr. Weaver.
Mr. Buckaloo,
Yes,
I vote yes. Mrs. Hines?
Yes.
Mrs. Madison?
Yes.
Mrs. Madell?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Let the record reflect a 6-0 vote in the affirmative.
Item 13117, Head Start Monthly Report. Mrs. Madell. In front of you today, you have the monthly expense report as required by federal law. And I apologize that it wasn't to you earlier. Being the beginning of the school year, everybody's having their little hiccups with everything. So this is no different. They are under the process of expanding their program, so we are now at Walker Winter with a full-day program and trying to get that up and underway, and the kids are excited. The teaching staff over there is excited. I had a chance to visit them before the school year began, and we're moving ahead. So any questions about the monthly report, please contact Mrs. Ely, and she will be glad to answer any of your questions. Next item, 13217, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Harmala.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Vice President Madell. I have 5 things to share with the board, and the first one is a little bit lengthy, so I'd like you to bear with me. I'd like to first offer a sincere apology to our students and parents on account of our bumpy start this year with transportation services. As the superintendent, I want to assure our community and you as a board that we all take our work and the timely and safe transport of our students very seriously. We want everything to run smoothly all the time, but on occasion that does not happen, and my expectation is that everyone jumps in with every effort to remedy the situation as immediately as possible. And I want to provide the board, as well as our broader community, an update regarding what has been problematic for us, as well as where we are in the resolution process. So to begin, we have had more than the anticipated numbers of students riding our buses. We are attributing this to two factors. Students who are in our walk zone and some of our schools of choice students did go to bus stops during the first days of school to try and ride a bus. It took us a while to catch on to our students' interest in not having to walk, but we did catch on to that, and through the help of our principals, we're able to make some adjustments. And we had new students enrolling every week prior to school starting, as well as during the first weeks of school. And while it would be nice if we could offer transportation to all of our students, we are currently not able to do so. Students who do desire transportation but are not eligible because they reside in a walk zone or are a choice student may apply for transportation using our online application, and selection is considered only based on availability of seats and only on an appropriate route if it's available. New students, we need to have you expect up to 5 days to arrange for appropriate transportation. Adding students after routes are established can have a domino effect on the capacity and on the timelines of any given route, so we need time to adjust. We had gaps in our routing and scheduling, and this is primarily due to changes in staffing, including difficulty replacing key transportation positions, as well as data integration problems we've had this year. We currently have an interim leadership in transportation, as our director retired in June, and our router positions have turned over twice in the last year. These are key positions, and the work staff in these positions do must accomplish everything on the ground that relates to understanding existing routes and completing routes in time for our drivers to test the runs prior to school starting. Additionally, we had difficulty with our two key data sources, and we've worked extensively with RISA with those problems. We have been receiving support from RISA throughout the summer, and even more since August 29 and September 8th, when our two new routers took their seats. RISA's help has been critical, and we really appreciate their support. I can't say enough about what they've tried to help us to do in relationship to data. We also have a shortage of bus drivers and aides. You may have noticed in today's consent agenda that we hired 6 new bus drivers, but we also had 3 resignations. Currently, we need 94 drivers and aides to cover our bus runs. We have 92 drivers and aides available. Ideally, we would have 108 drivers and aides available for coverage of absences and added specialty runs such as athletics and field trips. We do have people in the hiring process. However, that process from hire to driving is 8 weeks due to the required training period. If any community member is interested in driving a bus, please consider applying by going to the employment tab on our district website at www.csd.net. Also, during the first weeks of school, we have been going through our annual Michigan State Police inspections for our buses. This is an annual process. If you had your review in the spring in the previous year, which we did, you are a review in the fall the next year, which we currently are. On the days the police have selected to inspect during the first 2 weeks of school, up to 10 buses a day have been pulled for use for inspections. While certainly this is necessary and important, the timing for us has been more than unfortunate. Finally, and likely the most frustrating for our parents and students, have been what seems like to them a lack of response to phone calls coming into the transportation department. We have had a call center set up in the transportation department since the first week of school. Unfortunately, our phone system is so old that the system can't handle more than 7 calls at a time. During the first week of school, the center could only handle 4 calls at a time. When we identified with our phone company that we were having problems, we were able to add an additional 3 lines. A more modern system would allow up to 30 calls in a queue. We have not been able to do that. Transportation has been returning calls, but at peak times, we are still only able to receive 7 calls at any one time. Each day, improvements have been made and resolution of problems has occurred. There is not one simple thing that caused the difficulty, and there is not one simple solution. Rather, we are addressing a variety of things, and the resolutions have taken some time. We expect to provide a broad communication of route adjustments to our families this week. Changes may not impact every route, and we will announce and post all information on our website. They may not impact every route because drivers have been making those adjustments and communicating them to their students as they have been made. At the beginning of the update, I mentioned my expectation that everyone works together as a team to address concerns when they occur. Our staff has done that. I want to thank our transportation staff, particularly our drivers, our aides, the secretaries, the routers, and the mechanics, because they really stepped up to solve the problems in the moment as we were facing them. Also, many other staff and administrators who have been working actively together as a team with transportation over the past 3 weeks. Their commitment to our students and families and to this district have been tremendous and time-intensive. I know we've been successful at resolving issues because of the team approach and the input from each and every staff member, and because of the information and feedback we've received from our students and our parents along the way. I can't express enough my thankfulness to everyone, and we have many from the Transportation Department here tonight, for their patience, dedication, and commitment to making sure our services are restored to those in which our families and our students have been accustomed in the past. My second update is not transportation. It's related to the November 8th, 2016 enhancement millage. Voters will see ballot language at the end of the ballot this November that requests voter consideration of the Wayne County Regional Enhancement Millage. The title of the proposal may not clearly inform voters that revenue from a millage, if passed, would be dispersed to the Wayne Westland Community Schools. However, a full read of the ballot language does include our school district, but you have to read the full length of the ballot. Third, and Vice President Medell already shared a thank you to the Ford Motor Company, UAW Local 900, and the Michigan Assembly Plant. I'd like to echo that for their generous donation of school supplies to our students. They contacted us during the summer and shared that their diversity committee decided to collect supplies for our school district this year. Their generosity included 250 backpacks filled with school supplies, a supply of assorted school supplies, 40 bags of non-perishable food items, and a $1,000 donation to our Family Resource Center. So a hearty thank you goes out to Ford Motor, UAW Local 900, and the Michigan Assembly Plant. Fourth, there's a lot going on in Lansing this week related to legislation. We expect the third grade reading bill and sinking fund legislation to be addressed. Specifically, I support the Senate reading bill as the wiser of the two versions, as it includes parents in any consideration of retention for a student who does not pass the state's reading assessment in grade 3. Sinking fund language or legislation would broaden the use of a sinking fund to include technology and security. Ideally, I would prefer it include buses, but that has not happened to date and does not look like it will. I would like to request the board's careful review, if you have time, of House Bill 5753 that is being considered a quote-unquote clean-up bill. In other words, the legislature says it is only cleaning up current language in an existing bill. I'm sorry to say that is not my read or the read of many local school districts. This bill, if approved, could in fact exacerbate our transportation problems by requiring us to provide transportation to students who reside in our district but choose an alternative public school, such as a charter that resides within our boundaries. Currently, charters receive the same per pupil foundation we receive, yet they do not carry any expense for transportation. I have asked our legislators to leave this law alone. It is not a cleanup bill. Rather, it is an underhanded way of further impacting the finances of this and other school districts through another unfunded mandate. And then finally, I would like to talk about the start of the school year and tradition. Every fall, the excitement of a new school year and learning comes upon us. With that comes the traditions of football and homecoming. Wayne Westland Community Schools has had the pleasure of offering a homecoming parade in each of its high school communities for many years. Many people attend, and they look expectantly for the parade of characters and all the candy that we get to throw out to them that they enjoy. John Glenn's homecoming and parade will take place on Friday, October 7th, as it has in the past. However, this year, we have had to change the tradition for Wayne Memorial High School and welcome in a new way of doing things. Wayne Memorial High School will not have the usual parade because the city of Wayne is no longer able to fund the street closures through their police department. I know, and this board knows, how difficult these types of decisions are, yet they have to be made. I would like to thank the City of Wayne and the Wayne Police Department for their many years of service and their commitment to the tradition of a homecoming parade. We understand the decision they had to make, and we want to express appreciation for all they do for our community. Thank you, Vice President Medell.
Thank you, Dr. Harmon. Next item on the agenda, 13317, citizens' comments, non-agenda items, general comments. Dr. Weaver.
This is a place on our agenda where you may come to the podium and speak to any issue that you deem necessary. If you'd like to come, yes.
Good evening. My name is Brandy Stinson. I am a parent of a TAG student at Walker Winter. I'm here to talk about, although it wasn't an agenda item for this time around, it's about the transportation. My son has been late to school every day except for September 6th, and that's when I took off of work to take him to school because at that time I had no information whatsoever regarding his busing. He was a TAG student last year, and he was provided transportation last year, and this was not the problem. I understand that the district is going through some things. However, in letters provided by the superintendent as well as I think Mr. Larson Scheidler, you talk about inconsistencies. Well, my son has been inconsistently late every day, and by that I mean on 9/7 he he got the shuttle at 9:03. School starts at 8:55, if I'm not mistaken, the first bell rings. On the 8th, he got there, well, the shuttle left at 8:57. The shuttle leaves on the 9th at 8:59, 8:56 on the 12th, 8:55 on the 13th, 8:52 on the 14th, 8:58 on the 15th, 8:52 on the 16th, and 9 a.m. this morning. This is unacceptable. If I was taking my son to school late every day, there would be phone calls by the principal or someone, or even, I work for Wayne County Circuit Court, so I know how this goes. So this is unacceptable at best. I understand that you guys are working to resolve the issue, but I'm not getting any response in terms of, all I hear is we're going to resolve. I think you at least owe us parents an explanation as to how. If you don't have the drivers, then what I hear is I should expect this to continue forever until you get the drivers that you need, which, again, is unacceptable. It's not fair to the students or the teachers. He misses, his teacher gives him bell work. He misses it every day. He's consistently 15 to 25 minutes late every day, and this is not acceptable. It's disruptive to the class, it's disruptive to him, and it's disruptive to his routine. His teacher has been gracious enough to provide him with breakfast after he gets there, because then he's already missed breakfast. Although I'm fortunate enough to be able to provide my son with breakfast at home, some people aren't, and they're relying on this. And I don't know how we're going to change this. The other thing is, how is it on paper that he's supposed to get his neighborhood bus at 8:42 and then transfer to another school to get to Walker Winter by 8:55? On paper, it does not make sense. So I don't know who came up with this, but it doesn't make sense on paper, first of all. Second of all, in regards to the resolve, again, I think you owe us parents, how are we going to do this? I hear we don't have any buses or we don't have any drivers, and so for 8 weeks, we need 8 weeks to train one driver. So where does that put us? This is not acceptable, and I don't know who it goes to, but this is just not acceptable. And again, like I said, if I took him to school every single day this late, you guys would be on me about it, and I know you would. So I need some help. I need some resolve. And let me not mention that on Thursday the 8th, he got home at 5:24. He gets out of school at 3:50. The following Thursday, he got home at 5:24, and on the following Thursday, he got home at 5:04. That is unacceptable. I can't. Again, he's a first grader. You want him to transfer buses as a first grader, and then you want him to get home almost an hour and a half later, and be late every day. I need some answers.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is anybody else? Okay. Seeing no other interested people, we are going to go on then. Next item is 13417, review and recommendations, Board of Education. Mr. Buckaloo.
Well, let me start by saying I empathize with your situation. I have 2 grandchildren who are at Walker Winter as well. And fortunately for them, they're not encountering this kind of issue. But an hour and a half getting home is much too long for a first grader. All I can do is ask you, and I'm not even sure I can ask you to do this, but we need your patience. We need to get this worked out. It isn't that we aren't trying to do this. We take very seriously our responsibility to the community. You've heard a number of good reasons why we're not able to do what we're supposed to be doing, but I know sitting where you're sitting, it comes across just as excuses. I empathize with your situation. For Dr. Harmala, I have 2 questions. In your comments, you mentioned, should the enhancement millage pass? The distribution of funds will be per student. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, it's $385 per pupil for every student in a public school in Wayne County. Every district's per pupil allocation would be the same in terms of the enhancement millage. So in relative terms, you would change, you would stay the same, but our per pupil would increase. So those districts who already would have more than us, they would still get the same $385 per pupil that we would get.
I have heard comments out of the community that it might be on an as-needed base.
No, it's a flat per pupil for every pupil that's included in your count.
And
Yep.
respective to 5753, noise out there that we might be required to provide transportation for school districts equaling this, having the equal funding with us,
Yes,
which would do nothing but exacerbate, I can't say the word, make worse a problem that we're already struggling to deal with.
true.
I know you've put out an appeal for additional bus drivers in your letter to parents, and I hope that that's bearing some fruit. I would tell you, we have to get off our backsides and get this taken care of, but I know that you're doing everything that you humanly can. I understand we've had some weekend sessions where we brought people in to work on this problem further.
Every weekend since the end of August.
Okay. Well, again, we do need to get it resolved.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to say that House Bill 5753 is an abomination simply for the reason that all the charter school systems get the same amount per pupil that we do, and yet they want us to transport their students for them? We've been doing private students for how many years?
That's the
Long as
law
we've
that
been
they're
there.
tweaking, is the one
Yeah.
that requires transportation to the parochial
Yeah,
schools.
but they want us then to assume that? We get the lowest per pupil allowance in the state of Michigan with 330 other school districts. You give us $12,000 like Bloomfield Hills got, where my son was the assessor and just retired, and I'll guarantee you, we could do all of that and a lot more. Or give us $10,000 like Dearborn. and that's not the exact amount. But we can't afford it, folks. This board has made the kinds of hard, tough decisions we have to make along with the administration, and we can't afford it. And it's just not right. As far as the bus situation, I totally empathize with you. I understand your situation, but I know it's not going to be an easy fix, and it wasn't going to be a quick fix. And when people email me and ask me that, I told them the truth, because that's what I believe in. But we will get it fixed, because this Board of Education will stay with the administration till we get it fixed. However, having said that, if you look around, and I know the parents don't care, you look around at the other communities, they got problems hiring bus drivers too, because the economy has picked up, and we're not paying the kind of money to keep these people anymore. And, I wish we could. If we could pay our bus drivers more, every board member up here would vote for that tomorrow. But we can't do it, because the alternative is we can't hire drivers of what we have, and we can't pay that kind of exorbitant rates outside of the rest of the budget, and maintain a balanced budget where we can control our system through the administration. So that's the truth. We'll get it fixed, but it's going to take some time, and I don't believe in telling people things that just because they want to hear them. I believe in telling the truth. All the years I've been in public service, for 30-something years, and sometimes people don't want to hear that. We need to correct this, and we will get it corrected, and every one of us up here has told the administration that, from getting your email to all the other ones that we've received. But it's not an easy fix. And I don't know what we do about hiring, we'd like to hire more teachers too, but we can't, there's a lot of them that we can't hire because of wages. And it's a boomeranging effect across the entire Tri-County and the whole state. When you take a state of Michigan that decreases the state aid by over $1 billion and gives $1.4 billion to charter schools and takes it out of our budget for public schools, we suffer. Give us back the half of that, and it would be amazing, as I talked to Dr. Amala, what we could do in this school district. I'm going to vote for the Wayne County millage because I don't see anything on the horizon that gives us any money other than that, as a homeowner here since 1964. So if you want to be able to solve some of these problems, you got to help us pass this millage, at least for 5 years, and then hope that we can get the state to get out of the funding of the charter school business and give us back at least half of the $1.4 billion that they're taking from us every year. And that's the answer to this problem. And I sympathize with the bus drivers. I want to say this. Our employees in this school district do a great job of maintaining the kind of workforce that we need, but we can't give them everything they need to do the job. And that's sad, but that's the real world that we live in, folks. And I'm proud of them. And we don't privatize our departments, and I don't think this board, any of us, is for it, and I'm not going to vote for it. But we're going to keep on working, and hopefully, as I look at the future for the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to be able to solve some of these problems in economics that will help us solve our per pupil funding, which will help us solve the issue of transportation, more money for our employee group to be competitive again, and so forth. And I think that's the solution, but it's a long road to hoe. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Madison?
I completely empathize with every person in the community who's had a busing concern or any other concerns that may have come up during the new school year with transportation and issues and timeframes. I highly suggest and recommend and encourage every person to please reach out to transportation. If we don't know your situation, we can't fix it. So first and foremost, it's very important to start directly with the people who are working with the buses every day and making sure that your information gets to them, all of your concerns, any changes in where the bus stop may be located or having to transfer buses, to please work with them and give them the opportunity to make things right. It is a very large process with many pieces, and as we would love to have everything perfect, the reality is nobody could ever possibly be perfect. We're all human, and we're all working with the intent to do the best for our community. This was not anything done out of any ill-natured or thought or intent. Every person in this district I can speak for on saying every employee has a very good heart and a very good intent to serve in every facet of our community and for every student, every parent, and each other as a team at every level. So please, please be as patient as you can and make sure you get your information to the people who can help make it right. I also, through this weekend of working with these concerns, had thought about how in years past, we used to work with our local fire departments. I remember being a child in school, and we always worked with having the fire department come in and work on an emergency plan and go home and talk to your parents about an emergency plan. And that kind of reminded me of how situations are now today vary so much from what they used to be, where mom was at home and dad was at work, that now we have mom and dad at work. And I think maybe this is something we should look into as a district, about putting a resource together for parents to take, our students to take home to their parents, and offering the parents the resources and options that, should something arise, that once we do get this resolved, if something, heaven forbid, ever happened beyond our control, that could cause a bus not to show up at a bus stop, or some sort of interception, you know, an act of nature that's beyond our control could leave a student in a situation. And it's very important that the students know what to do in a situation if they're going to be going to and from a bus and being in a situation of transportation. So I'd like to put that out there, that maybe we need to work on an alternate plan where the students could also be prepared and knowledgeable and offer some kind of safeguards and support system for the students and the parents, so that we could, you know, have it implemented for future, that should something ever happen, we all could react a little bit better through this. And I'd like to congratulate our new hire and our promotions that we've had tonight, and welcome the new school year, and look forward to all the functions that should be coming up here soon in the near future.
Thank you. Mrs. Hines?
I'd like to congratulate everyone for the new school year. I am excited for our new staff members. You guys are awesome candidates. But I am concerned about the turnover, because I'm looking at this here, and I know we went through a lot of principals. Even at Marshall, we lost 2. So, I mean, is there anything going on that's causing this high turnover with the principals? Is there something happening?
Would you like me to address the question, Vice President Medell?
That's up to you.
I can certainly talk about it. So we actually shared this with our staff on opening day, because there was a very large perception that something bad is happening. But the reality is that more than half of those changes were promotions. And some of them were promotions within our very district, and others were people who got promotions outside of our district, including things like a superintendency in other districts. So while we don't want to lose anybody, the context is really important. And we also know that for many of our staff, they have not received pay increases. They've been frozen for years. And for some of our staff, they've looked at, would it be, in essence, a pay increase for me if I take a job closer to my home and don't spend as much money on childcare and gasoline. And so some of our staff are making those decisions to look closer to their homes instead of commuting. But we're very proud of the staff we were able to hire. That was a win for us, as we've hired some great people. But you are looking in your consent agenda at a number of turnovers. We actually have fewer teacher turnovers this year than we had a year ago. So while that list is long, it's significantly less than the turnover we had a year ago. So hang in there. We're hiring good folks, and they come in ready to work and ready to work hard, and we're equally as paying attention to it as I know your concern was. So thank you.
And I would like to also give my empathy to Miss Brandy Stinson, I understand how you feel as well. I'm a parent and my son rides the bus, and I, behalf of the board, I do understand how you feel, and I definitely want to make sure that we can help with your situation because, like you said, as being a parent, you have to leave work, the first grader, and I can understand your fear in coming home so late. And I love what Ms. Madison said about finding an alternative resource for if something were to happen, to make sure that your kids are safe or they have a place to go or something to kind of help you out with that. So we definitely want to look into that. I also like to thank the staff of transportation. I personally thank some, but I've seen them because I know this is a very challenging time and you guys are doing an awesome job. We're all sticking together. I mean, we're trying to work with our budget constraints, and I appreciate everything you guys do. So thank you, and definitely you have my empathy, Ms. Stinson.
Thank you. Dr. Weaver?
Yes, I'd just like to take a moment and thank our bus drivers and those that ride along with our bus drivers. They do an incredible job. I'm disappointed in regards to the fix taking as long as it is. We have bumps every year, I would think, but this is September 19th, and hopefully we are through these things, and it's not going to continue any longer, because this is important. Our kids get to school on time, and that concludes my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Weaver. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all of our new hires. I'm so impressed having attended new teacher orientation, which also included the people who were hired during last school year after the school year began. We are not hiring all brand new right out of college. We have a lot of experienced people sitting in that orientation that worked for other school districts or worked for charter schools or have taken a year or two off to raise their children and are coming back into the workforce. They're coming to us with years of experience, and I am so impressed that they want to teach here. They want to teach in Wayne Westland. A couple of them came from other districts and said, I've been trying to get into Wayne Westland for several years and haven't been able to. I am so thrilled to see the bright, shiny faces of all the new staff, and congratulations to some of our shuffling around for our administrators and our new administrators also. You already know how we work here. We are hard workers, and most of these people hit the floor running. I want to thank our Bright Future students. At opening presentation at both the morning and the afternoon, Bright Futures came in and flash mobbed us. And I think several of the staff members were taken back a little until they realized what was going on. At least they all had t-shirts on to identify themselves as Bright Futures. But this was not something where they pulled them out of buildings because they were already meeting. They sent out the word and the kids showed up when they found out what they were going to do. And I mean, there had to be at least 100 kids on that stage. And some of them wanted everybody in the audience to come up onto the stage and join them. They were so excited about not only their program, but also the new school year and the fact that they could pick out their teacher who is sitting in the audience and they're, waving and, high-fiving, and they were absolutely what everybody needed to see at that moment. So thank you to them. They did a great job. And again, their program after school, and it's not just a daycare situation. It's a mentoring program. It's to help the students with social skills, homework. They do a lot of multi-intelligence works with the kids, and also a lot of creative things being taught to them also. I'd also like to thank Mo Al-Fakir over at the Ford Road Bigby. I understand he went around and celebrated the beginning of the school year with quite a few staffs giving them free coffee and some some got mugs and little things, you know. I want to thank Mo for doing that. He's, you know, a real sweetheart, and he is a real believer in our school district. So, big shout out to Mo at Bigby. Going around, Mr. Buckaloo joined me the one day, and I think I wore him out. But we went around to all of the buildings, knowing how hard it is to make all of the open houses, find parking, and zip between buildings and get there during the time constraints. We decided to go out before, and it gave us a chance to go through the buildings, meet the new staff that we hadn't already met, talk to the principals, and wish everybody a good school year. The buildings were clean, they actually were spotless, and the happy faces of everybody just to see us and let them know that we care. We, as a school board, care about all of our employees, no matter what job you do for us. We work as a team, and we're so glad that you chose Wayne Westland to continue working or to come here to work. We need to thank the people at RISA. We need to thank everybody in transportation. I was talking to a few ladies before this meeting about brainstorming. We need our experienced bus drivers, bus aides, everybody in transportation when things like this happen. This was a perfect storm of, pardon my language, crapola. And it just swirled, and as soon as you plugged one thing, something else popped up. And everybody pitched in. Whether it was your job or not, they pitched in and they worked the long hours. They came up with the creative solutions. They saw where the problem was and they knew how to fix it. You guys rock. Thank you. Thank you for putting in the extra hours. Thank you for helping out our students. Thank you for trying to make it a better, safer place for our students. Hopefully we can get some more bus drivers. It is not an easy job. It takes a special person. It's a calling. So keep up the good work, people. I really appreciate all that you've done. With that said, I think we are done unless somebody else has something to add at the last minute. We are adjournment, and I will take a motion for that.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Mr. Griffin, supported by Mrs. Hines. All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. See you back here next